Hello, hello. On today's show, we are talking about the first full trailer for Toy Story 4. On top of that, oh wow, Cardi B is in a movie. And then to round out our lineup, it's Transformers having sex and kisses. No, there's no sex and kisses in the Transformers movies, but some romance was teased, whatever that means. We will dig into it. We have the Transformers expert right here who can clear up all of those, I don't know, like anatomy questions we're going to have. We'll figure it out soon. I want to welcome to the table Coy and Rocha. Guys, hello. I'm so happy to be here. We have a big lineup, more stories than usual. But first, how are you doing?
Good. Been a very busy day here, but excited to talk about all these trailers and movie stories with you guys. A lot of fun. Haven't done this with Coy yet, so I'm even more looking forward to it. I'm sure he's easier to get along with than Jay Washington was yesterday. That's right. I said it. That's right.
He's a Mike, he likes it kind of guy. He just likes stuff, so I'm pretty excited. And I'm used to Rocha being on the other side of the whiteboard of justice. So we get to work alongside each other instead of 45 minutes.
There's no whiteboard of justice here. I'm in control. All right, we're hitting our first story now. And of course, it's the first full trailer for Toy Story 4. So this trailer wound up giving us a much deeper look at the plot. The characters this time around go on an all-new adventure. And it kicks off with a new character that we're going to meet. And that character is named Forky. Forky is a spork who's been made into a toy and faces an existential crisis. And this trailer shows what happens when Forky gets away and then Woody goes after him. Toy Story 4 hits theaters June 24th. Rocha, we've spoken about Toy Story 4 quite a bit with all the little pieces of the promo campaign that we've seen thus far. I know you are not a fan. Did this change things for you?
No, it really didn't. And I hate to be one of the people sitting here on the island in the minority not liking this trailer, because I saw a lot of people loving this trailer, but I don't like the design of Forky. I don't like, and I respect Tony Hill. He's an incredibly funny guy. The voice, okay, it doesn't make me want to cheer for this character. The change in Bo Peep is weird, but we're doing the same story beats every single Toy Story. Oh, someone escapes, we gotta go rescue him. Someone gets lost, we gotta go rescue him. Hey, look, Forky's gone, we gotta go rescue him. It's just repetitive. You have a new Bo Peep, but what does this mean? Bo Peep takes care of what looks to be the villain in the new place quickly in the trailer. So what's here to find? Yes, there are other kids. Yes, there are other things to do. But I thought they were going to be handed off to Bonnie, and that was the new story. This feels like Bonnie's rejecting all the other toys and going with Forky, and they got to go get Forky so they can make her happy. So overall, I didn't like the animation. So I'm just one of these people who doesn't like what I've seen so far, and I don't sense that magic. I watched it 3 times today.
What's your problem with Forky?
I don't like him.
Why?
He's annoying. The way it looks is annoying, and he's not cute and fun like all the other characters in the Toy Story universe. I think he's such an extremely different character, and I know it's the point because it's a spork. But but like for me, I don't feel a desire. I could care less if they save him or don't, and that should not feel that way when I watch this trailer.
Do you hate Forky as much?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was going to be a problem.
The sentence said in real life of, I get it, because he's a spork. Like, that's a real life situation with Toy Story. For me, the concepts are more interesting than the trailer. For me, the idea of what moment you're an actual toy is kind of the question they're raising, because this sport comes to life once he's been bestowed toyhood. And that's really interesting to me. Like, when it was a spork, it was inanimate. As soon as it got googly eyes and wiggly arms, it became a toy, and then it became life. So to me, the bigger broad strokes, I'm having an existential crisis along with Sporky. So the trailer didn't capture my attention enough to want to know about the movie itself. It did capture my attention in the mythology of Toy Story, because now I'm like, hey, what is the spark of life? Hey, where do the toys come from? Hey, was the Big Bang a thing that happened in this universe? Hey, what is creationism in the world of, like, it's more of the mythology of toys for this world, because I'm fascinated in real life. What, like, we think about ourselves, we're just meat sacks, right? Like, we just exist in this form. So what are toys' intelligence? Like, what, like, it's the Matrix question. Are we all just hooked up into a vat? Are these toys aware of themselves? When they get depowered, are they aware of them being, like, dragged around? Do toys die, and then are we carrying around their corpses? I have more questions.
This is our first story of the day, Coy. Our heads can't explode yet.
There's so much.
For all the reason you just said is the reasons why I love Forky as a character, and why Forky is the driving force behind this trailer, because this finally introduces, like, the new original thing to Toy Story 4 that I've been waiting for all along. And I know they had teased Forky's edition, but now that we actually get to see how he comes into the fold and the issues that he's dealing with and basically what sends him out the window, that's what intrigues me, especially because, you know, all the things that you just said, Coy, that's what we had in Toy Story 1, 2, and 3. How do you take that a step further? introduce something that isn't traditionally a toy, an inanimate object, because I mean, let's face it, we all have little hints of that still even today as adults. When you look at something that you deeply care about, you're not imagining maybe that it has a personality or something like that, but if it's something like even a laptop, like you hold near and dear, it's that connection and what it means to you that I think it does have some value for kids and adults.
Okay, interesting.
It's not my laptop's not walking around on a daily basis, but it's like the adult nature to want to take care of one of your possessions.
You know how many dudes talk about cars that way, right? Like, so, oh, this is my baby, this is my girl, blah, 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 things of that nature. So I get it, of course. And I like this idea, though, and Coy, you made me think a little bit as you were going on about this, like, she creates the character Sporky. So it's in essence, she's giving birth to this character. So this character now has to ask itself, I didn't ask to be born. Who am I? What am I? What am I?
She is God to the Spork.
She's mom to the Spork.
It's fascinating.
Really, she's mom to the Spork of like, hey, I was used for this. Now I'm this. What am I supposed? How do I transition here? So yeah, maybe there is. I know existential crisis is funny when you talk about it, but like this idea that a Spork could have questions about its creation and its existence and could be Blade Runner.
Right, I want to go there.
Replicants, yeah, sure. We're reading way too much into this, but it's an interesting.
I don't think we are, because I think they're using this character to touch on those themes that we often don't think about when we're watching certain animated movies. Then again, now that I'm thinking about it, Pixar of all animation studios has been the studio to tap into it, because now my mind is immediately going to Inside Out and how that has semi-changed how I view my own emotions functioning in my head.
And I like the idea that toys, they're multiples, right? And we saw the Slappy dolls, or like, you know, they look like Scarface or Slappy to me, the ventriloquist dolls. I want there to be an existential crisis in the fact that there are multitudes. Imagine if Buzz met another Buzz, Woody met another Woody. Imagine knowing you are not your own unique entity. What would that do to your psyche? How would that break you? What would that affect you like? So if they're going to do that with the Spork and they go existential on one newly created creature, maybe these Slappy dolls lost all sense of self because they met more of them at that pawn shop. Maybe they all went insane because they realized they weren't unique. It's fat. Like, the ramifications that probably won't happen are exciting to me. It's just whether or not the movie can live up to the expectations I've just put on it with this existential.
Buzz had to confront that in the second film when he went to the toy barn, right, and saw all the different versions of himself. And of course, then there was the Spanish edition in the third one, which was really funny. So again, they're repeating the themes that we've seen before. So I just wonder if they're going to stick the landing. I haven't seen anything that makes me excited yet, and I love this trilogy. So that's I may be a bit harsher on it because I didn't need a fourth one, and I wanted to stick the landing so badly, and I'm scared that they won't.
Well, the pressure is on. The movie doesn't come out until June 21st, so odds are we are going to be talking about another trailer on this show in the coming weeks. You'll have to be on that episode, Rocha. All right. I got a story for you now. Gonna change things up for Mr. John Rocha right now. We are talking about Transformers. And specifically, producer Lorenzo de Bonaventura was talking to our very own Haley Fouch while working on the movie Pet Sematary. He's a producer on that. They reconnected to talk about that movie, and Haley also asked about Transformers, and he started to tell her about things that they're considering based on the reaction to the movie Bumblebee. And here are two quotes from him. One of the things I want to see, and I don't know if we'll do this particular thing, but I think we will eventually do a love story between Transformers. What does a love story mean? Definitely not sex, maybe not even kissing, but the idea that they would have that emotional crush has never really been brought in. That's the kind of direction we're going to try to head in, which is to give them human desires that up until now we haven't seen much of. And then on top of that, he also had mentioned, because some out there who maybe weren't a big fan of Bumblebee complained that there wasn't enough action in the movie. And to that he said, I know the next Transformer, our attempt anyway, is to do sort of a fusion of Bumblebee and the Bay movies, a little more Bayhem. So, all right, first off, Rocha, what do you think about these comments? Are these the things you want to be hearing about the future of the Transformers franchise based on what you thought about Bumblebee?
It's such a fascinating response. So I'd love to know what Haley's question was that led him into talking about, like a romance or whatever.
I'm sure you'll be able to read that full interview on Collider.com very soon.
Where's the ding?
That was a beautiful plug right there.
Where's my bell app? Ding, ding, ding. Oh, I'm sure I can text Haley and ask her, what was your question? But look, this is a fascinating response from him because, this is not where you necessarily want to go with this, because it's the humans that have the relationships, and then, you know, the Transformers protect them usually through the history of Transformers. But this idea that we can have like Transformers relationships, I'm absolutely cool with that. They're sentient beings. We just talked about a spork having existential crisis. So for God's sakes, why can't a Transformer find love? That's as they conceive of it. You know, people are like, oh, in the article, it's really great. It breaks down. It's like, oh, well, people usually conceive of love to make love so they can make children. It's that instinctual primal thing. But with Transformers, it's different. So it's companionship, right? You could argue that most of the relationships between Transformers and humans are based out of love because of their friendship. And so that's inherent involved. So if you move it into a romantic thing, why can't you have a male-female or male-male or female-female relationship that is based in love? Why not? It's in the terminology of Transformers, it's in the canon, called spark mates. That's what they're called when they find each other. So that has happened in the lore of Transformers. So for me personally, I love this idea. Now the second part. What did I tell you? If it didn't make money, they were going to start walking back to Michael Bay. And what happened? Already, there's the comment, more Bayhem. They even used Michael Bay's terribly arrogant term for himself, Bayhem. They used it. It's going to happen. I told you people, if it didn't make money, they were going to go walking back Transformers to Michael Bay, and they have done it. Dave Benaventura is essentially saying that's what they're going to do. And people were afraid walking out of the theater when they saw executive producer Michael Bay. I hate to break it to you. This is the way it's going to go.
Well, he was still involved in Bumblebee. It's not like they completely cut him off and then moved on to Travis Knight. I mean, I guess a little. I have to admit, I kind of did want that. And I loved what I got in Bumblebee, but it doesn't really scare me that he uses the term Bayhem, because, I mean, I see that suiting the franchise going forward as long as they keep the primary focus on character and building those relationships. I think then you can sustain more action than what we got in Bumblebee. But I'm sorry, I'm going to obsess over this other thing a little more. As much as you want to know what Haley's pitch question, the thing I want more than anything is I just want to see like what her reaction was when he started talking about robot relationships and was basically like, not kissing and not sex. But does this, like, has this happened to a certain extent in Transformers? Like, what happens when someone meets their sparkmate? Yeah,
that's what happens. They end up having a relationship that it becomes like you would see a normal human relationship become. I mean, Transformers are written with human characteristics from the beginning, so naturally, why wouldn't they have human connections? So do they go off together and raise a family? Is it that traditional? You can't have a family, right? Because you can't reproduce, but you can have a relationship, and you protect each other, and you fight each other, and you go and you build a relationship with each other.
This is like Transformers sex ed with John Rocha.
Yeah, I know. I'm fascinated. I'm like,
listen, I don't know if Transformers can mate for life. I don't know.
Yeah, they're like seahorses.
They're like seahorses. Can you believe that? For life.
For life.
But to me, this all around, this is such an interesting avenue to go, and I guarantee you they are not going to necessarily go in this avenue in the second film, but they certainly. I love that they are thinking about expanding the approach to these Transformers down the road and giving them relationships. Why not? A female Transformer, a male Transformer, or, a male, female. It'd be fun to see in a film, I think, and fun to explore.
I hope they adopt little motorcycles and we find out what little baby Transformers. For me, it's fascinating because they're going the direction that hadn't worked for them for a few movies, and they're combining it with the direction that financially didn't work for them, but they saw the heart in it. I loved Bumblebee personally. I thought it was a roaring success. Whether or not it was financially didn't determine the fate of the film for me. For me, that's the direction I wanted Transformers to go. So it's an interesting, I just hope it doesn't, I hope the kickback isn't so strong that the word Bayhem becomes a trigger. I hope the kickback isn't so strong we get something that's not like, I think 60-40 Bumblebee, 40 Bay would be the move. The fact that they're bringing up sex and kissing and stuff now means making them more human, and I think the technology is advanced enough that you can see more emotion. You can do the WALL-E thing. You can do, like, because WALL-E has more emotion than most movies, and they're robots. So if they can make the CGI work where they have those relationships, and I do agree, like Shia LaBeouf and Optimus Prime's, that was love. It wasn't romantic love, but there was love there. And Bumblebee with Haley Steinfeld, that was certainly love. So I would love to attempt that. I just hope it doesn't become a focus where it would be distracting, where it's like, the family Transformers film where the humans are secondary and they're poorly written and let's go gallivanting with the family Optimus. Like, that's not what Transformers are to me. So I'm really curious how they balance those scales, because that's a really interesting subplot.
I can't believe WALL-E wasn't the first thing that came to my mind. That's like one of the most beautiful examples of robot romance.
And it's love. It's love right there.
Wow. And it's so pure and sweet. So I believe they can do it here. I believe they really can, but it's just going to be an interesting thing to see what they do with this franchise from here on out, because it's fascinating to me that you had a certain type of movie that made a whole lot of money and didn't get a great critical response, and then all of a sudden you make a critical darling, and it's not that it tanked, it just came nowhere close to making other Transformer type, I guess, bank accounts.
But neither did 5, right? Like 5 did.
It was a significant dip, but it still made a lot.
But it made way more than Bumblebee.
Sure.
5, and here's the deal. I mean, this is what Perri and I battle all the time: commerce versus art, right?
Yeah.
It's commerce. Yes, Bumblebee. I would fight on that, die on that hill. The best Transformers movie released yet, other than the I might even put it over the animated film, to be honest with you, because there's a lot of cheesiness and nostalgia that goes into the 80s animated film. But you look at this and you put, this is the path to go down. I think what Perri said is absolutely right. This is the path to go down. You want to not lose the heart. You want to keep the G1 vibe to it, but you want to add more action to it. So what does that mean? Do we now move away from the Haley Steinfeld story? Because it essentially was the end of her story at the end of the movie. Where do we go now? And I wonder what we lead to. And I would throw in 2 things to you, Perri. Her is a relationship between a program and the human. And
also
the same thing,
beautifully done.
Exactly. And the same thing with Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah, that was a beautiful relationship.
So with Anna de Armas. So it's possible. Love exists wherever. As long as you can exist, you can have love.
Or AI is already real, and this is the robots programming us to accept robot love, and we're just slowly being programmed. Back to meat sacks, you guys. I'm going to the existential
Robot
stuff
love.
this episode.
Just to paint a picture of what the box office was like, we had Transformers The Last Night make $131.4 million total domestic. Bumblebee was actually right behind that with $127 million of its own, but then when you go to the worldwide totals, that's where you see the bigger gap. Bumblebee wound up topping out at about $460 million worldwide, but Transformers The Last Night, again, not nearly as successful as some of the other Transformers movies, but it did make $605.4 million worldwide. So, we're talking about basically a $150 million gap there. So that is a nice chunk of money. Before we move on to story number 3, I must remind you, we are going to take your live Twitter questions at the end of the show, so start sending them in right now using the hashtag #ColliderMovieTalk. All right. Next story here is a casting story, and it's that music superstar Cardi B and also Riverdale's Lily Reinhart have both signed on to join Constance Wu and Jennifer Lopez in the STX Films drama Hustlers. On top of that, the cast also now includes Keke Palmer and Julia Stiles. The screenplay for this one was inspired by a 2016 New York Magazine article that went viral. Wu and Lopez are going to play characters who lead a group of former strip club employees who turn the tables on their Wall Street clients. Jeff is also hearing that Cardi B is going to be playing a character named Serena, who is one of Lopez's best friends and then becomes her accomplice. All right, Coy, I don't want to seem like I'm so out of the loop, but I know who Cardi B is, but I don't follow her whatsoever. Is there anything about Cardi B that would make you think, oh, she could be a great actor?
She's larger than life in a way that I think lends itself to the music to acting translation. I think Cardi B is very outspoken politically. She's very outspoken on social media. She believes in the thing she believes in. And whether or not, I don't know what shades of gray her extreme personality is, but I guarantee there is an augmented reality to her persona. I don't know Cardi B. I can't speak to how she is on Sunday morning, but to me, it registers as there is definitely a persona she puts on, which to me implies acting. So that, I think, is at least a tinge of oh, here we go, this is an opportunity. I think it's always great to give people a chance to try a different wheelhouse. I think it's always great when you're going to sell a certain amount of money because Cardi B's in it. She sells a certain amount of tickets. So I think why not give someone a chance to translate? I love when people translate and they actually land it. Will Smith, I thought was a great rapper, man. Will Smith turning into Fresh Prince is one of the best things that happened to cinema. Will Smith was Mr. 4th of July for a long time. I'm not saying that's going to happen with Cardi B, but if someone didn't give Will Smith a chance or LL Cool J a chance or any of these people that translated, then we'd be missing out on a lot of great art. So Cardi B is playing a persona in day-to-day life. She's got the crazy fingers. She's got the and she has all these things that she does that's iconic. So why not give her the chance to be a crazy stripper with Jennifer Lopez and other weird sentences I didn't think would say today with Spork existential crises. It's a weird day in news, guys.
There it is.
Not to get too off track here, but did you see the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air dramatic spin that someone did where they shot a bunch of of content where if his story was darker and I guess more grounded and realistic, it's actually a very well done trailer.
That's amazing.
I highly recommend seeking it out. I think they just call it Bel Air, maybe.
Ooh.
But go Google that.
Dark.
It was I was very, very impressed.
I might have enjoyed the show.
Are you a Cardi B fan, Rocha?
Cardi B fan, yes. I love her music, and she has that one recently, the one that she did with Maroon 5, which I thought was enjoyable. Girl Like You, I think it is. Girl Like Me, rather. And she had a big Super Bowl commercial, the Pepsi commercial she did. Here's the deal: 42 million followers on Instagram.
Jesus.
5.4 million followers on Twitter. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the STX Films. They're building at a smaller budget to make money. That's how you do it. You bring people in. A producer years ago told me when I was acting, he said, "Get followers. That helps you in the room. It can be the difference in you booking something and not." Now, I don't have 5.4 million followers or 42 million followers, but it does help you when you get a following to get in the room. Cardi B obviously has a following already on social media, as Coy pointed out, politically as well as in the music scene. So it makes sense, and it's a nice irony. There's Jennifer Lopez that who also transitioned, from singing into this and back and forth and all that jazz. Doing the Fly Girl stuff she did on In Living Color, and then what she became as an actress, then back into singing, and then back and forth. So that's all of this is possible. The premise itself of the movie bothers me because, what's the big thing that's been happening within this empowering of women? And it's like, we're tired of playing strippers. We're tired of playing call girls with hearts of gold. But it seems like this is kind of a low rent type of concept, and we'll see if it works. But the thing with Jennifer Lopez is, and this was shocking to me to discover, I didn't think anybody went to her movies anymore, and she doesn't do that many, but the last 2 or 3 that she's released theatrically have completely destroyed at the box office compared to their production budget, which is like a $5 million production budget, $64 million worldwide, or $14 million production budget, $82 million world. So the movie, the lady makes money, and so she has a right to do these films. We'll see how this one turns out. STX is slowly building with these smaller films, and I like it.
Can I tell you a little more about the story I think might pique your interest more? So
I like a revenge story. That's
while
good.
I was busy researching it, this description really stuck out to me. And the director and the writer on this is Lorene Scafaria, and her script here. This says it takes place in New York City in the wake of the financial crisis, and it explores the toll that took on the livelihood of the strippers, the dancers who were basically relying on their Wall Street clients. And then a direct quote from her that really caught my eye was, "This film is an empathetic look at women and men, our gender roles, what we're valued for, what we've been told is our value in every movie, TV show, every corner of culture. Men have been told they're worth the size of their bank accounts. Women have been told they're worth the symmetry of their faces, their bodies, their beauty, and that's what this film is based on. The rules of the club are the rules of the world." The cast had me. When I read that, I think this could be a great pairing, and I think this movie could have a lot more to say than what maybe you were initially thinking.
That's a fair point, Perri. You're right. That does pique my interest. And I know she did The Meddler, which I actually found to be a very cute and entertaining film. So now I'm interested.
The rules of the club are the rules of the world is a great log line.
Isn't it?
Right there in itself, I'm very intrigued because I love when you see the seedy underbelly of the world and how that reflects any tier, any strata of humanity. Yeah. Where you start is as you carry on, it's the same problems, just bigger. So I'm really curious about how they translate that into this movie. If the log line's as good as the movie, we're in for good hands.
Yeah.
If you want to read the full story that this movie is based on, it's called The Hustlers at Scores, and you can actually find it right here on thecut.com. So go check that out if you have time. Now we're going to move on to another story. This is our headliner for the day. So we've got Variety reporting that Christopher Nolan has cast Black Klansman star John David Washington in his next movie. It's being described as an event film. Washington's casting is pretty much the only concrete detail we have at this point. Some recent reports did claim, though, that the film would be a romantic thriller that played like a mix between Inception and Alfred Hitchcock's North by Northwest, but Warner Brothers and Nolan's camp have shut that down. Then on top of that, we also got a tweet from Fandango's Eric Davis, and he wrote, "This just in, we have confirmed that Christopher Nolan's next film is not being described as a romantic thriller. Instead, it is being described as a massive, innovative action blockbuster." So those 4 words of the description there. John David Washington, of course, to star. Can't wait. So that is where the description lies. So I hope we cleared some of that up for you. First off, though, Coy, let's start with you here. Just simply the John David Washington casting. I'm assuming that's a winning match for you.
Completely. I mean, we talk about from pop to mainstream with music, with actors, all these things. He's a football star following in his dad's footsteps, doing all this action movie world. To me, Nolan picks amazing actors out of nowhere. I loved the casting of the people in Dunkirk because they were, pop stars. They were not actors. They were people that weren't in that limelight, but it sold a lot of tickets because they have their own following. This ties weirdly into the Cardi B story more than I expected. But the casting for me, I don't need much else to be in for this being an event movie. Christopher Nolan is an instant sell, and he knows that. The world knows that. This summer release date shows the confidence. His casting has me interested, and I want this to stay as under wraps as possible. I love that they gave us 4 adjectives that paint any sort of picture that could be almost anything, and I would love personally if this was, he's done space with Interstellar, he's done war with Dunkirk, he's done, psychological thriller with Inception. I would love a little more streamlined action movie out of Chris Nolan. I love his introspective, very ponderous, slow burn, all of those things that make Chris Nolan what he is. But there's a reason The Dark Knight works so well, is it's his most linear film. And as much as I want him to play with Interstellar and play with Inception, I'd love for this to be like a return to linear filmmaking. I'd like to see a straight on, smart, but action film out of him to just mix it up. Like, I want to see a 90s action movie from Chris Nolan because that would be something so different.
That intrigues me. And it would actually suit the IMAX format, I think, in a different way than his past movies have. Rocco, what do you think Nolan is going to do with this movie?
It's interesting. I had this weird feeling as you were asking us before we started, like what we want to do or want to see from Nolan. And for me, wouldn't it be interesting if he found a way to do a time jump type movie that's still an action adventure type movie, maybe a little sci-fi vibe to it, with Denzel and John David, where it's like seeing the future and past versions of themselves and what that means and where the paths they are and how that the decisions made here affect what's going on later, and then how it goes back and forth through this areas of time and what he's trying to tell us. Because in Interstellar, which I thought was his most ambitious film, what he's talking about is love. Let's take the next level of that, and what you're talking about is the existence, your existence. This is a weird show, but existence of all of this.
Nolan's movie is going to be about a spork.
In the end, it's a spork. So, I mean, I just would like to see something with John David and Denzel, maybe in some sort of kind of time, existing in different separate times, but affecting each other in that way. I would love to see that.
Like a Tree of Life meets Looper?
Yeah, kind of a Tree of Life meets Looper with that J.K. Simmons TV series thrown in for fun, where they had alternate worlds at the same time. Conspiracy or whatever it was called. I forget what it was called. Incredible show that I watched. I just can't remember the name of it. I saw it last year. But yeah, something of dual worlds existing at the same time in different time periods.
I want it all shot in IMAX. I want it because we've had multiple chunks of scenes in movies. I'd love if it stayed the frame rate. I'd love to have a full feature shot in IMAX. I think we're there. I think the tech is there. I think if anyone's going to let anyone do it, it's Nolan having a free blank check, because his movies always make money. I think they should shoot a full feature in IMAX. I think it should be a more linear action film, only because I know there'll be an inherent intelligence, but I'd like to see something a little less ponderous.
Well, the Variety article labels it a massive, innovative action blockbuster, which will again be shown in IMAX. So who knows if the entire thing is going to be shot in IMAX. But even though the studio has refuted some of the descriptors, I still have them in my mind. So when I'm playing this little creative game here and I'm trying to formulate an idea, I actually side with what you suggested, Coy. I really wouldn't mind if he just sticks to a straightforward linear storytelling format, but I don't think that's what's going to happen here, because the second they use the word innovative, my mind immediately goes back to both Inception and Interstellar, and I start thinking about dreams and dimension. And then, even though they have already taken away the North by Northwest comparison, I'm immediately going with someone who is misidentified, and then I'm throwing in the romance thing, and then I start to put in what you were just suggesting. It's just like, I don't know, like maybe this idea of mistaken identity with a romance twist that kind of could transcend different dimensions, especially because, I mean, not that this has anything to do with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, but I'm just obsessed with this idea of stories being able to exist on multiple planes, and I feel like that is something he can do. And it could be a really interesting thing for him to play around with. That also, that idea feels different to me than what we got in Inception and Interstellar.
For me, the word innovative is, to me, an all but IMAX film, like the whole way through. He's been trying to, every movie of his since Dark Knight, he's been adding more IMAX camera footage. They tease Dark Knight Rises with those 20 minutes of IMAX, and he's been leaning into that, and he's a big film guy.
So you think that's a production thing, not a storytelling thing?
I think Nolan is inherently innovative, but I think that buzzword is going to be the first feature film shot completely in IMAX. I think that's the way they're going.
I could see that happening.
You could be online right there. All right, we're going to have to wait and see. Hopefully, we will get some more concrete descriptors from the studio and from Nolan's camp real soon. We've got one more story on the main lineup today, and that is a trailer for Lucy in the Sky starring Natalie Portman. So this is a Fox Searchlight movie, and it's directed by Noah Hawley. And Lucy in the Sky stars Natalie Portman as astronaut Lucy Cola, who begins to lose touch with reality after returning to Earth, which now seems small when compared to the majesty of space. It's weird how I'm reading that and I'm connecting it to like all of our conversations right now. It's all getting to my head. First off, Rocha, you look at this and you see Natalie Portman in this and you get the vibe from it, and I think the vibe was very much in line, and even some of the sets for that matter with First Man. So my mind just keeps going down the is this an Oscar movie path. So I'm going to pose that question to you. Do you see something like this and say, hey, maybe Noah Hawley can have an Oscar in his future?
This was my immediate thought when I saw the trailer. I'm a massive fan of space movies, so to me, this hit all the right buttons. I just saw the Apollo 11 documentary, from Neon. If you haven't seen that, do yourself a favor and go see that, especially in IMAX. It's gorgeous. But this is, this follows First Man, which I loved. Gravity, which I enjoyed. This kind of vibe of Noah Hawley, which I love from Legion, what he did with that character and the Fargo series. If you haven't seen the Fargo series, do yourself a favor and do that. So you put his sensibilities into a film like this, and it looks incredible, looks trippy, looks mind-blowing, looks obviously pondering your existence, pondering your connection to the world, and it stands for more than just space versus Earth, right? Like, how many of us go off somewhere for a while, and when we have the hardest time coming back and transitioning back into our own lives because we glimpsed or we tasted what could have been another existence for our lives that feels so much more fulfilling, those kinds of things. And you see what she's going through, and you see her, like, I guess she's cheating on her husband with John Hamm, possibly over Dan Stevens. And so there's a lot about this that I am ready to dial in. And this looks to me like another Oscar possibly for Natalie Portman. Honestly, I know people like the Jackie stuff and Black Swan, but this is a mature actress coming into her power even more as she's gotten older. And I'm excited to see this, and I hope it knocks it out of the park. And Noah, if he nails it, definitely should be nominated for an Oscar.
I am very into this as well. Yeah. I'm always hesitant this far out and just based on a trailer to be like Oscar contender, but this one does have the packaging to at least put that bug in your head. And this thing looks beautiful. I mean, and she's fantastic. You don't need me to tell you that, but there were so many things in this trailer that gave me such a clear sense of what the general story is going to be in this, but I think it's going to be very much in her head. You watch how that frame size changes throughout, and it's like, what does that mean? How does that make me feel? And I have a feeling that's going to be a key part to just having you engage with this character and kind of get sucked into that mindset and just this whole idea of the way she looks at human beings around her after having that experience. It's like the feeling of the trailer really affected the alone feeling that she must have coming back from something like this, that nobody out there in the world can relate to her, or I mean a very select few amount of people, no one immediately in her life. And that it must be a magical experience to get to do something like that, but then to come back and have nobody around you who could really understand what you've experienced. God, that must be isolating.
For me, this looked like my favorite parts of First Man, which dealt with claustrophobia and isolation and that feeling of aloneness. And the sound design in First Man was one of my favorite things. The creaking of the ship and the spontaneity of it's the most dangerous job in the world. You're launching yourself. You're the first. That meets Hurt Locker. For me, Hurt Locker was all about the isolation of imagine all that stimuli and then coming back to the regular world, how slow things would feel. That shot of Jeremy Renner looking at the row of cereals at the grocery store sticks with you. That's such a powerful image. To me, this trailer trailer was that image in the hallway, at the grocery store hallway, for a larger scale. Because when you're flying, like, I don't know if you guys do this, but when I'm flying, I often like look down at the houses, and then I imagine how small the people are in the houses. Then I imagine that each of those people in individual houses has their own lives, and that when they're down there, they look up at the airplane, and we're all individuals living our own lives, and that extrapolates out to thousands and thousands, and every city is millions and millions. Every window you look in any building, everyone's lived a life in there through decades of their time. She experienced that on a planetary scale, and then on a scale of looking at a planet, looking at every continent as those billions of lives, and she knows what it's like to pull yourself out. So to resume life, the claustrophobia that would be caused by leaving the planet being smaller than you from your worldview, your perspective, to being part of the small microcosm of the thing you saw from above from such a distance, and to deal with that compression, to deal with that lack of empathy, to deal with that not being able to talk with anyone, plus the in-camera editing of Noah Hawley. Noah Hawley builds worlds in camera and edits and shapes, so we're going to get the claustrophobia of First Man, the crazy reality of Hurt Locker, plus Natalie Portman being Natalie Portman, a powerhouse, Zazie Beetz, John Hamm, like Dan Stevens. Give this movie Oscars now just from the trailer. Sorry, that was a rant. That's what I do when I fly.
Mind F of a movie talk episode. I feel like none of us are going to sleep tonight. And Coy, I feel like you're the kind of person that would never kill a fly, because you would imagine what like that fly's second cousin would do without him.
That fly might bring pollen or another item to someone else we might need. Like, why? I don't even break ice when it's winter, because someone else might get to. I'm a weird, like, you look at the big picture.
I think about that when it comes to killing bugs, not so much the ice thing.
Because if I step on a puddle, a kid might enjoy the crack more than me, so I leave it for the kid. You know, that's an impact.
You okay, Rocha?
It's an interesting mind you have.
Sports.
Oh, it's really thoughtful, actually. Yeah, we're done with the main lineup right now. We got to move on, guys. Before we start taking your live Twitter questions, which will no doubt incite even more interesting conversations, I must remind you that you have a full lineup on Collider Video tomorrow, starting in the morning with Collider Live. Of course, we are back at 4 p.m. PT Live for a brand new episode of Movie Talk, and then there's a show called Heroes. Coy, do you want to tease what's on the episode tomorrow?
So we are talking about that Avengers trailer that dropped the day after we did our show that we waited 6 days to talk about. We are going to be talking about the James Gunn madness. We also have the news that Spider-Man is a 7 to 8 year plan. This week's pull list of comics is crazy. We have a great guest. Collider Heroes this week's going to be awesome.
Okay, Twitter questions. You guys ready to roll into it?
Let's do it.
This first one's not for you. Adam in the booth has a fan. Adam, Donnie's like a really big fan of yours, and Donnie wants to know, a question for Adam in the booth, is Denny's a true American institution? Why is this something that's spreading everywhere? Are you doing something with Denny's that I don't know about? All right, this episode is not sponsored by Denny's. All right, let's move on to a question from good old J. Scott for real, who asks, how does a film with a star-studded cast like Free Fire fly so below the radar?
Good question.
Even if on a shoestring budget, shouldn't the names attached be enough to generate a decent word of mouth?
Free Fire was a good film.
Yeah.
But all the time, there are great films that come out during a year that just don't grab the public's attention en masse, no matter who's in them. And people just don't go see them, but they discover them or they find new life on the streaming services or on the pay channels. Brie Larson's in this thing. Charlton Copley's in this thing.
Armie Hammer.
Armie
Hammer's in this thing. But they're all, like, and this is before Brie blew up. So, I mean, I know the Room and everything, but Room is also a smaller film as well. It wasn't making $1 billion at the box office like Captain Marvel was going to do. Armie Hammer was kind of in and out at the time. So it's just a combo of characters who are all good actors, but there's no real lead to drag you into this one. So, but it's still a fantastic film. It happens all the time.
Well, it's also a matter of multiple things coming into play when it comes to marketing a movie and spreading word of mouth. I don't think really with almost anybody anymore, it's just about the headliner. Even when we're talking about Tom Cruise, it's Tom Cruise and Mission Impossible.
Right.
That's the franchise. I mean, look what happened with The Mummy. That has a star-studded cast and it crashed and burned. So I think it's just about so many different things working at peak level that even if you have an incredible ensemble like this, it doesn't necessarily guarantee that it's going to find a wide audience, but an incredible, very popular ensemble like this could take a more challenging, bold film like Free Fire and at least get it in front of more eyes than it would have been without those individuals.
That's a great point.
And I think Free Fire had a marketing thing. Like, I think the issue was in marketing, because I saw Free Fire, but I saw it because of its cast. Ironically, what we're talking about, I saw it because I followed Armie Hammer. I discovered that kid from Transformers was great.
Right.
Because I didn't really know his work except Transformers. This he was great in. And Sharlto Copley is always a powerhouse. Like, I liked Free Fire, but I also understood that it wasn't a mass market movie. It's a movie that was really good for a certain group of people, and I think it's going to have a cult following in its cast, in its ensemble, in its style, but that's not something that a mom in a state, whatever, blah, 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 is going to take her kids to. It's not a movie for the masses, but I think it probably did well enough to recoup its budget, and I think it was a passion project for everyone in the movie.
Yeah. I'm going to take one quick question from J. Scott for real again, just because he's also asking what was the highlight of your experience at South by Southwest this year. Just very briefly, I'm very torn between the two movies that were my favorite of the festival. Right now, Booksmart would be in the number 2 position, but at number 1, I have Pet Sematary and Us tied. And it's going to come down to second viewings. It's like, if you were forcing me right now to pick a favorite between the two, which one would I want to watch right now? I honestly don't know if I could make a decision. I love the two of them so much. Thank you for those questions, Jay Scotty. We really appreciate all the ones you send in. Next one comes from Bill Clay. Bill Clay is asking, in light of Toy Story 4, what is a franchise or series you love but wish they would stop making more of while they are ahead?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Would you ever have said that at any point in the Transformers run?
Yeah, that was my first thought.
I'm genuinely curious.
No, I mean, they were always dumb films as long as they were making money. That's all I cared about, because then I'd see another fun dumb film and enjoy myself and get drunker at each one, which is how I see them, which is the best way to see them. Let me tell you.
Four Loko and Transformers 4 was my jam.
Yeah, see,
twice.
You know what? This is kind of probably a controversial one, but I think Mission Impossible. I'm scared to go too much farther with Tom. The ankle breaking is symbolic in many ways. And what happened to putting the production back, people out of work, that kind of thing, because he has to do his own stunts. And how much farther can you go?
Yeah.
I think the Fast and the Furious one would have been the next one too for me, but Hobbs and Shaw gives it a nice, like, kind of new life. But with Mission Impossible, there's not many places you can go unless you hand the character off, Ethan Hunt off to someone else at this point. But to me, it scares me, because Tom's getting, hey, look, we all get old. Tom's getting old. I'm scared that something serious is going to happen to him the more he does these stunts. And I love Cruise. So
what you got, Coy?
Fast and Furious would have been my first, and I do agree the Hobbs and Shaw pivot is going to allow the fresh life to take hold, but it's also a franchise that started out with stealing DVD players, and now we're basically superheroes. Once you brought in Hobbs and shaped it that way, it was great for another couple movies. I love the Fast and the Furiouses, but Fate of the Furious was very much a superhero film, so there's only so much farther you can go while these people are still human, and like eventually they're gonna have to go to space. Like, there's only so much further. So,
or get a concussion, for God's sakes.
Feel a thing. So since Fast and the Furious is tricky with Hobbs and Shaw derailing, I have to say Captain America, because and that's, the Heroes guy on the show talking about it, but First Avenger is its own special film. I think Winter Soldier is probably the best as its own entity superhero film, and then I think Civil War. So if Winter Soldier is the best movie based on comic properties, I think Civil War is the best comic book movie.
Wow.
So because the fight at Civil War is like the first time you open that double page spread in a comic, and the first time you felt of that. It's a damn near perfect trilogy in that they're all different, they're all important, they all grew. I don't want Cap to keep going and have that be, I want to leave on top. And like with Endgame and him probably dying, that's a great way to end that. I would like to see, if they do Bucky, have it be a Winter Soldier thing, have it be a little harder, not call it Cap. If they go Falcon, have him be Falcon. I think Captain America should end as a trilogy, and I think we should let that be precious.
That's actually a good example. I'm having a very tough time picking one, because immediately my mind went to Jurassic Park, just because I think there are some diminishing returns. But that just speaks to my love of the franchise, that even though they aren't great, and none of them I think will ever be as great as that original, I am so into that world and that reality that I could never, this must be how you feel about Transformers. I could never say no to another opportunity to step back into that. And then I started to switch gears while you guys were talking and think about maybe a TV show that's been running a little too long, and my mind immediately went to American Horror Story, but I can't even propose that as an option, because I think there's still creative possibilities for an anthology series like that, where maybe if they just switched gears a little and started to narrow their focus rather than do these big crazy ideas, that show still has a lot of life and potential. So I don't know. I'm very hesitant to close the door on anything, because if you introduce the right people and you have the right story, you could turn anything around in a heartbeat. And an example that comes to mind that we were talking about earlier is Annabelle Creation.
Yeah.
After Annabelle, I would have said never make another Annabelle movie ever again. And then David Sandberg steps in and makes a really, really great prequel,
And Chris Morgan coming on Fast and the Furious when he introduced Hobbs, when Chris Morgan brought a different level. I mean, Fast 4 is basically a noir film, very different tone. They reinvigorate it with 5. So there is the possibility that 9 won't be a superhero movie. It'll completely change my tune. But with the way it's escalating, I think we both agree that's a dangerous line to walk.
Yeah, Rocky Balboa would have been the other. Rocky would have been the other one. But Creed coming in like Hobbs and Shaw gives it a whole new life. So we'll see. But yeah, Rocky would have been another one.
Also, Debbie Schechter has chimed in to ask anybody talking about the merger completing. So do you guys have anything to add to that? We're probably going to save that for a future iteration of Movie Talk, because I think right before Showtime, we did get a headline that says the merger is about to be completed, so it's a done deal. We still don't have concrete information regarding how that's going to affect, Fox and Disney and their properties and what they have. So once we have like a little more meat to chew on in that conversation, it's going to be a really interesting thing to dig into. But at this point in time, anything new you guys want to add to the conversation?
I'm just happy it's happening, and we're going to be done with it once talking about it once for all, and we can now focus on what the ramifications and the consequences are, and what possibly good things are going to come out of this merger.
We've been talking about it almost as long as I've been hosting. It's either been a rumor or it's been in the process of happening. I understand it's a giant merger. It takes years, but it's been fairly exhaustive. There's a lot of positives. There's a lot of negatives, and I want to see the dust settle and see where the negatives are before I assume them. You can kind of assume the positives easier. Everyone wants to see Wolverine high-five Cap. Everyone wants to see the Thing handled properly. But there are a lot of jobs that might be on the line. Yeah. There's tens of thousands of jobs, but we don't know how they're going to handle it, because as far as I know, Fox's banner is still going to exist. So I hope that Disney is able to keep people in their jobs that deserve to keep their jobs. I hope that the fear of multiple studios competing is fairly resolved, and I really hope that everyone's happy.
I know, it's a tall order. I mean, that's the thing that I focus on at this stage more so than anything is, yes, we will cover it when we hear that, so-and-so character is being put under the Disney umbrella, and this is how it will affect a series you know and love so much. But right now, as all of the pieces are starting to fall, it's just like, I hope that the most amount of people possible land in a place where they still have a job.
Yeah.
Like, especially if they want to stay with this company and whatever way they divide it up underneath the overarching umbrella. I just hope the people who need and want these jobs get the opportunity to keep them, because that's a very scary reality to me. But once all of that is said and done, you can bet we're going to talk about all the updates right here on Collider Movie Talk. We will keep you as updated every single time we get a new piece of information. So Debbie, thank you for bringing that up. Guys, thank you so much for being here with me today. Rocha, you rock. Coy, you're awesome. So is Adam in the booth. Adam, I hope you get all the Denny's your heart desires. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Movie Talk. As always, please like and share it and tell everybody you know about the show right here on YouTube and also in podcast form as well. We will see you tomorrow, 4 p.m. PT, for a brand new episode of Movie Talk.